From Vlad the Impaler to Immortal, The Legend of Dracula, Part 1. Welcome, sinners and scholars, to the Annals of Darkness. I'm your host, Rab Greeson, the original Un-fluencer. Tonight, your impaler of innocent earholes, and tour guide through the shame-soaked scrolls. It's October, and that means one thing. The scrolls are wide open, dripping with shadows, and this month every story gets a Halloween twist. We began with Hitchcock, lust, voyeurism, and horror hiding behind the silver screen, and now we leave the theater, step into the graveyard, and dig deeper. Because our next villain wasn't born in Hollywood, his legacy was. He was carved in blood, sharpened in wood, and crowned in fear. And on this Hallows month, we explore him. Tonight's subject? Vlad the Impaler, son of Dracula. His father's name meant dragon, or devil, depending on how nervous you were about salvation. Vlad was born a prince, and became something far worse. Child hostage turned torturer, sadist. A man who turned execution into performance art and terror into his throne. And here's the twist, Annal Scrollers. This tale is too big for a single night. Vlad the Impaler's scroll is a two-part horror. Tonight, part 1. The man, the myth, the tyrant. Next time in part 2, the resurrection of that name into lust, seduction, and monster. But here at the Annals, every monster starts as a man, and every man who lusts for power, for blood, for control, leaves behind a legend. Vlad left forests of corpses, and centuries later he left us something even darker and the most immortal monster of all. Dracula. Disclaimer, Vlad edition. Before we unroll this scroll, a disclaimer. What follows is not endorsement, reenactment, or recommendation. It is history, drenched in facts, propaganda, rumor, and shame stretching back centuries. Yes, Vlad impaled his enemies, feasted among the dying, and earned nicknames that make Jason and Michael sound like babysitters. But we at One Up the Annals do not condone mass impalement, blood-soaked banquets, or turning your kingdom into a Home Depot of sharpened poles. We're here to tell you the stories, not hand you the blueprints. If you dip your bread in anything red or think about setting the dinner table in a forest of corpses, that's on you, not this podcast. Consider this your crucifix, your garlic, your line in the sand. We absolve ourselves. What follows is history's filth, not today's instructions. Proceed at your own peril. Vlad the Impaler. Let's go! Act 1. Hostage turned tyrant. Vlad, son of Dracula. The title came from the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric brotherhood sworn to defend Christianity against the Ottomans. His patronymic, Dracula, meant son of the dragon, but in the Romanian tongue, Drac, shifted over time. Dragon became devil. A prince born under the cross now carried a name that whispered damnation. And Vlad, he began as a child hostage, a boy raised in foreign chains, leverage in a game of empire. But a hostage turned tyrant is the deadliest kind. He came back to Wallachia not as a ruler of treaties or diplomacy, but as a sadist. His throne was carved from sharpened wood. Hostage, exile, and revenge. Before we get to the sharpened poles, we need to understand what made Vlad sharpened himself. As a boy, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were handed over as hostages to the Ottoman court, royal pawns in a high-stakes empire game. Radu kissed ass, Vlad clenched his. Radu charmed the sultans, Vlad simmered in silence. Every lesson in obedience curdled into rage. Every night in a foreign bed was a reminder that he wasn't free. He was leverage. And leverage grows bitter. His first grab of power in 1448? A flop. Lasted 2 months. That's shorter than most bad Tinder relationships. He was chased off the throne, sent scuttling into exile, sharpening not just his swords but his grudges. By 1456, he wasn't playing diplomat. He was playing executioner. His father had been betrayed, his brother murdered, and the nobles, the boyars who sold them out, Vlad had their names on his kill list. With Hungarian backing, he marched home, met his rival Vladislav II in single combat, and killed him blade to blade. Picture it. 2 Vlads enter, 1 Vlad leaves. Mortal combat. Medieval edition. In the coronation, forget crowns and processions. Vlad's return was a massacre. Nobles were skewered, families purged, villages set on fire just to prove a point. His message was clear. I'm not here to rule politely. I'm here to burn this kingdom into fucking submission. Forget HBO. If you want a prestige drama in the 1400s, you just needed to walk into Wallachia and watch a traumatized hostage reinvent monarchy as a horror show. Boyars thought they had power. Vlad's version of a trust fall was letting you drop straight onto a stake. The stake as policy. Vlad's legacy wasn't forged in councils or contracts. It was forged on a sharpened pole. Impalement wasn't quick, it wasn't clean. A stake driven carefully up through the body, often through the rear, angled to miss the lungs and heart. Done right, it meant victims writhed for hours, sometimes days. He didn't just execute people, he installed them. Vlad turned human beings into grisly lawn ornaments, policy statements you could see for miles. History calls it impalement. I call it the original home security system because if you're sneaking past 1,000 screaming corpses throughout a castle, nobody's whispering, "Go around back, he's got nice stuff to steal." Now pause here. We can't just say sword up the wazoo and keep walking. Here's a brief history lesson on wazoo exploitation. Impalement didn't start with Vlad, he just turned it into a brand. 3,000 years back, the Assyrians carved reliefs of enemies on stakes. Hammurabi's code prescribed it, usually for sex crimes. Herodotus says the Persians impaled rebels by the thousands. And here's the kicker. It was often done ass first. Why? Because it wasn't just execution, it was humiliation. In a world obsessed with masculine honor, it turned death into a spectacle of shame. Slow, degrading, unforgettable. Romans preferred crucifixion, but they knew impalement. Byzantines and Ottomans used it sparingly for terror. And then came Vlad, who took a punishment older than Moses and made it his signature. Death by paperwork is bad. Death by firing squad is worse. But death by splintered oak shoved up your ass, leaving you twitching in the sun for days? That's history's way of saying grab your cloak, your goat, and your grandma. We're getting the fuck out of this empire. We're explorers now. Dinner with the dying. Chroniclers said Vlad dined among the dying. Just throw a banquet table in a forest of twitching bodies. Pale arms raised skyward, flies buzzing, moans echoing like a haunted choir on Halloween. Some swore the sicko dipped his bread in blood. Others that he wiped his mustache with intestines. Maybe it was exaggeration by Saxon merchants who hated him, and German pamphlets you could call fake news to sell. But I didn't make it up, and the truth didn't matter. The image did. A prince turning his dinner table into torture theater and agony into ambience? Dinner and a show? No, dinner was the show, and everyone was on the menu, skewered into butt kebabs. Imagine Gordon Ramsay storming in, "It's fucking raw!" And Vlad? Exactly. Forest of the Impaled. But Vlad didn't stop at dinner theater, he thought bigger. Entire roadsides lined with stakes. whole hillsides bristling with bodies. Forests where the trees groaned, bled, and swayed in the wind. Travelers describe valleys of pale silhouettes dripping crimson blossoms into the dirt. But the most infamous vision came in 1462. When Sultan Mehmed II marched into Wallachia with one of the largest armies the region had ever seen, what he expected was a fight. What he got was a nightmare. As the Ottomans approached the capital of Targovista, the road unfolded into a graveyard without end. 20,000 corpses, men, women, even children, all impaled, rotting in the summer heat. A forest of bodies stretching for miles, twitching, swaying, blackened by flies. The stench carried farther than any trumpet. Chroniclers say even the hardened Mehmed, conqueror of Constantinople, stopped in shock. He called it a spectacle of terror and amazement. His army, seized with horror, they turned back. The invasion didn't end. His brother Radu was installed to rule, but for one moment, Vlad's theater of cruelty had done what no Wallachian army could. It made an empire flinch. Diplomacy failed. Vlad's plan B was always the same: sharpen the poles and let the smell do the rest. If Halloween ever needed an origin myth, this was it. Trick or treat, Vlad preferred trick and impale. Act 2. Viral horror before Wi-Fi. Most Europeans never saw Vlad in person. They met him through a new invention, the printing press. Forget TikTok, Vlad went viral on woodcuts. German pamphlets. They flew off the presses, lurid sketches of Vlad impaling families, boiling people alive, mutilating bodies. Illustrated snuff comics sold at the market while kids chewed on bread. Today you show one nipple on YouTube and you get banned. Back then, people were hanging woodcut gore posters in taverns. Pamphlets screamed, "The tyrant of Wallachia, the devil of the East." Within months, every village knew his name. Some tales came from enemies, some from allies, and all of them sold like candy. Vlad discovered the oldest influencer hack. Scandal sells. Act 3. Sin, seduction, and rumor. But cruelty alone doesn't explain why Vlad endures. Contemporary writers described his piercing eyes, a presence that drew you in as it horrified you. Danger itself became seductive. People hated him, feared him, yet couldn't look away. History's first bad boyfriend. Red flags, red carpets, and actual rivers of red. Chroniclers whispered of him parodying communion. Bread dipped in blood, feast besides twitching corpses. Defender of Christendom, his cross was sharpened into stakes. His sermons written in screams. To some, he was justice. To others, pure perversion. Either way, holiness and horror collapsed into one spectacle. Repent, for sin shall be punished slowly, from the bottom up. By the late 1400s, Vlad was more rumor than man. Pamphlets whispered his name, mothers warned their children. Europe shivered, a mortal prince inflated into myth. It was all inked into Europe's imagination. And myths never stay buried. Vlad the Impaler died a mortal death. Betrayed, beheaded. His head, salted, stuffed in a box like beef jerky, sent to the Sultan in Constantinople as proof. But centuries later, his name rose again, not as a man of wood and blood, but as the most seductive monster the world has ever known. Tonight we've seen Vlad the Man, hostage turned tyrant, forest of the impaled, the banquet of the damned. But next time, we follow the rumor that outlived him, how his name, Dracula, escaped the grave, slipped into folklore, and became the immortal count of lust and seduction. Where shame becomes legend and lust never dies. I'm your host, Rab Greeson. I came for the facts, You stayed for the filth, and now it's in the annals. Stay tuned for part 2. Good night.